This is the Cigar Snob Podcast. I'm Nick Jimenez. Spend enough time around professional chefs and you'll find that they are disproportionately lovers of premium cigars. Maybe it's the need to relax after all the long hours in the kitchen, or the fact that they have refined palates to appreciate complex flavors. Whatever it is, it's been my experience that you are more likely to find fellow cigar smokers among the chef ranks than most other professions. Recently, our own Erik Calviño got a chance to chat with Michael Beltran, the chef and partner at Ariete, a great new Miami restaurant. They talked about his perspective on food, how it was informed by his leaving Miami for a time, and how dominoes played a role in his developing a passion for cigars. Before we get into that interview, a word from our episode sponsor, Zafra Rum. At Cigar Snob Magazine, we know that man cannot live on water alone, which is why we keep a healthy stockpile of Zafra Rum at the office. I'm Nick Jimenez, senior editor of Cigar Snob Magazine, and I'm here to tell you that every time we crack open a bottle of Zafra Rum, we are impressed. In fact, I'm kind of hydrating with Zafra Rum right now. It's unlike anything else, in part because of Zafra's small batch approach. They use only hand-cut sugarcane and process it into top-grade molasses, distill in column stills, and ferment in a proprietary locally grown yeast. The rum master then ages the virgin rum in carefully selected bourbon oak casks. The end result is a rum masterpiece that's great for top-shelf cocktails, drinking it on the rocks, or even just drinking it neat, which, by the way, is what we did when we paired this in the pages of Cigar Snob Magazine with the Oliva Serie B Melanio, but it goes great with just about any cigar. Here's what we had to say about Zafra Rum. Quote, the rum introduces smooth, honey, caramel, and molasses flavors that start to complement the coffee, chocolate, and spice from the cigar. Zafra also received an exceptional 95-point rating from the Beverage Tasting Institute, so we are not the only ones who are crazy about this stuff. It's just another one of their prestigious awards. Ask for Zafra Rum at your favorite retailer, restaurant, or bar. Make sure you follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Zafra Rum. That's Z-A-F-R-A Rum, Zafra Rum. Always drink responsibly, and remember that there is no rum without Zafra. All right, and now here's Erik's interview with Chef Michael Beltran.
Let's talk about your restaurant. Let's talk about first. Let's start with the name, right? So Ariete. Ariete is spelled A-R-I-E-T-E.
That's right.
And where does that name come from?
Just so happened that my grandparents worked at a restaurant in Pinar del Rio called Ariete, and they didn't own it. They ended up owning a restaurant later, but it was like a restaurant inside of a home in the back. I mean, you know how that works.
Yeah,
and
Cuba. So
that didn't have a name, but Ariete is a name that they remembered. So kind of when we got down to picking those final names, that was the only one that stood out that had a lot of personality, much more than the other ones.
So Ariete and the meaning of it, though. So they worked at that restaurant, but the word Ariete has several different meanings.
Right. I mean, in different languages, it has different meanings. You know, I think in Italian it means like Lord of the Manor, or maybe that's like the Spanish. But the one that we stuck with was battering ram. A lot of people don't know what a battering ram is. Which kind of always shocks me. But the battering ram, kind of what we wanted to use that to like signify coming into the Grove and being this type of cuisine that we're doing. We thought it was a big move, and we thought we were kind of breaking some molds, and something that we do with our cuisine and with who we are is we like to live outside of the box. So doing something and breaking molds is something that we really wanted to
breaking down doors, right? I mean,
right.
I mean, that is what a battering, for those that don't know what a battering ram is.
Yeah, they I think we definitely broke down some doors here.
Yeah, for sure.
And going into our third year, we plan to continue doing that. And our name is a big part of our personality and who we are. So.
Sure, your identity in the neighborhood, right?
Absolutely.
But at the same time that you're breaking down doors, the restaurant has a very welcoming vibe to it.
Sure.
And I think it has an understated element to it, right? When the sign is a very small sign that's kind of hanging from a tree.
Yes.
And the menu is they're all very approachable foods. And just to give people a sense of the kind of food we're talking about, it does have it has a Cuban sort of soul to it, and it has and it involves a lot of local ingredients. So how do you come up with this sort of food concept?
The title of our food, New World American, is a combination of kind of this new American cuisine with what my background is, which was New World cuisine. And really all that means is it gives us range. Being classically French trained and then using that Miami approach to a lot of things is really I'd say the inspiration behind the food. And then the bigger element is being local, being seasonal, working with farmers around us, working with whatever's in season, try to use our local farmers as much as possible is a really big deal to us. I've been buying from the same farmers for about 8 years, and they do an amazing job every year. Every year it's new products, things that they were told they weren't going to be able to grow, and now it's things that they're really starting to take to the next level.
So just to touch on your Miami background, you grew up here. You were born here.
Born and raised.
Yeah, born and raised here in Miami, and you played football in high school, and then you go off to college. So that's kind of like your the first time you leave Miami is for college.
Yep.
And so give us what that was like, right? So no more pastelitos and
right.
cafecito on the corner. You went to Virginia.
Yeah, it was at that point in life, it was important for me to leave Miami. Miami was a big comfort element for me, and those things that I felt like it was time to go explore some other things. I didn't know that Danville, Virginia would end up being what it was, but I was there for 4 years, and being there really opened my eyes to a lot of things. One, how much I missed the city, and two, how many things I didn't experience because I had never really gone anywhere. Just from a food standpoint, I never knew what real biscuits taste like, or, I never knew what biscuits and gravy were.
But yeah, so these southern foods.
Right. What real barbecue is, smoked meat, Brunswick stew, apple butter, just this whole plethora of things that in a Cuban household you would never, like you said, it's all pastelitos and café con leche, which I do love and I did miss. But yeah, it was huge for me. It was big to see another part of the world and really their food expression, because it's very different.
And so do any of these southern dishes influence what you do here at Ariete?
I wouldn't say that they influence our food. I think that they influence me. That style of food, that approachable, comforting understanding of family, because their food is very much about family, much like ours is, when it comes to the Hispanic culture. But it's that real, they haven't lost that sensibility of Sunday supper with the whole family or 7 o'clock dinner. Miami's a very fast city.
Yeah.
A lot of that is very different here. So to see that kind of expression towards food, that Southern hospitality, which was a big thing that I had never experienced before, was big. And I think that's what resonated with me more than just the actual food. We don't really have anything like that on our menu, but understanding what smoked meats were was something that even at that time that I didn't know would influence me for a long time.
Well, we just had some smoked, what tasted like smoked barbecue, smoked wings.
Oh, they were smoked.
And so, that
Yeah.
I mean, you may not actively think that it influenced you, but I think the food did, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think that the time there was important.
Yeah.
And with the food being, again, it's that approach that Southern hospitality, that like comforting, we just really want to have this community. I think that was really what influenced me the most. And yeah, smoked meats were a big part of that.
Yeah.
I never knew what real barbecue was until I moved to Virginia. No idea. Because in Miami, to us, a barbecue is a grill.
Yes.
It's a totally
Exactly.
it's a totally different world. Now things are a little different than what they were 15 years ago. But people are educated more when it comes to like Southern smoked meats. But
We're more worldly now.
I would say so. Yeah, I'd say we have a better understanding. Yeah.
Now, your grandparents, that restaurant, the original Ariete that you spoke of earlier, was in Pinar del Rio.
Yes.
Which is a region known for tobacco, and you happen to love cigars.
I do love cigars.
Which is why we're sitting down here today.
That's true. I've been smoking cigars for a long time. It's funny because my family's not really cigar smokers.
They're from Pinar del Rio.
Even from Pinar del Rio. My grandfather just likes his Miller High Lifes. That's pretty much it. But no cigars. And he likes his pinch. But he's not allowed that anymore at 90. So I don't really remember how I got into cigars. My dad doesn't even smoke cigars. But I picked up a cigar early, and I've never put them down. And it's always been that point of when I'm having my cigar is I know when I've reached that point of like pure, I'm relaxed, I'm chill, I can drink a glass of rum, smoke my cigar, and have very little worries. That's what a cigar always represented to me.
Well, that's what it should represent.
Yeah, absolutely. It was never like a family thing at all, though. It was something I picked up on my own, and I think that has to do with the fact that I like to play dominoes. I think those really were kind of like the.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah, I used to go play dominoes with my dad, and my dad didn't smoke, but he played dominoes, so we would go do it in a cigar shop or like at someone's house. And
yeah, if you want to play dominoes in Miami, cigar shop, you can find a game right away.
Yeah, sometimes I guess they don't always play by the rules in cigar shops.
Okay, all right. Well, you'll find that with dominoes, guys. I was just in the DR, and they're big into dominoes. And yeah, whenever you talk to a real domino player, it's always a complaint about this guy doesn't play by the rules, or this guy winks the other guy under the table.
Of course.
So yeah, you got plenty of chances to test that out here, right? So, forgetting about dominoes for a second, the cigars that you like, what kind of flavor profile do you look for in a cigar? What do you like? Is it based on the time of day, or do you
definitely the time of day?
Yeah.
I like. It all depends on the mood too. I think a lot of people would say time of day, but it's also the mood. Like this Norteño that I have in my hand right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the mood I woke up in. It's kind of I find it's like a medium body smoke. It's got like a hair spice to it, but not too much. Something I could smoke in the middle of the day and not feel overwhelmed, or, and then if I wanted to smoke like a Liga number 9, that's more, I feel like of a nighttime smoke, and I would like a stronger liquor with that. Like this Norteño, I don't really want any liquor with it. I just want to smoke the cigar and maybe.
And it is a clean.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe drink something with bubbles, like, I don't know, beer, something, nothing heavy. For me, it always depends on the mood and what I've really eaten or I'm going to eat or whatever. I think those are like the biggest things for me when it comes to what I want to smoke that day.
Okay. Now, your restaurant has a patio on the side, a covered patio.
Yes.
Which you said you're going to rebrand as like a rum bar?
Yeah, we built this patio about a month ago, and our real goal was to build an outdoor bar that people could enjoy, have some snacks, smoke cigars, really have it's more of like a social area as compared to area that's more like sitting down, let's have dinner. This is more about, like a social lounge, if you will. And really, for me, it was kind of a selfish move because I really wanted an area that I could smoke cigars.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah,
Is it more really so that we can get together out here and smoke a cigar with you?
It was, for me, I wanted an area that we could hang out, smoke a cigar, drink a nice cocktail, and really not interfere with the restaurant at all. And so far, it's worked out very well. I mean, we've just done a few events out there. We smoked cigars, played dominoes, had live music. It was really great time. We're looking to rebrand it as a cocktail bar in the next few weeks and do like a late night happy hour from 9 to 2 in the morning, really based on all rum cocktails. And, we're planning to have live music probably once a month.
Okay, and so, rum has been mentioned several times here. So,
sure.
What, and you've mentioned Drew Estate brands like Ariete, Norteño, and Liga Number 9. So, what, number one, what rums do you like to pair with cigars, and what is your philosophy on when you're thinking, okay, I know what the cigar is like, and I want to pair it with this rum.
Yeah.
What do some people match intensity, some people match
Yeah.
level of spice, or what's your philosophy on that?
It's more flavor based, I would think. Yeah, it's more flavor based for me. So I know if I'm gonna have more of a peppery smoke at nighttime, I'm gonna want more of a sweeter rum. So let's say I'll go for a dark rum neat over ice.
So you're looking to complement.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I never want anything that's gonna battle. I always want something that's I want to have a puff of my cigar and a sip of my drink, and I want them to be kind of very cohesive. It also depends if this is after dinner or if this is hours after dinner. If it's later on in the night, that's not really going to influence me. Then, I really want the rum and the cigar to go well together. For instance, that number 9, I like to smoke that and drink Zacapa because I feel like the flavors work well together.
Yeah. And
then actually Drew Estate has the Dovetail, which I like to go with the Norteño. But then if I'm smoking something...
So not Drew Estate, but Jonathan
right.
Drew product,
right,
which is the Dovetail
right.
rum.
Which I love that rum. But we have a new cocktail that I came up with. It's a very interesting combo, but it works very well with a good big cigar. So I haven't tried it yet, but I was thinking something like the Opus that we talked about with this drink would work well, and it's good for after dinner. So Italians do Fernet and Coke.
Mm-hmm.
Cubans do rum and Coke. So I combined them all together.
Okay.
So I did Fernet, rum, and Coke, and we use Brugal, and then we use Leatherby, which is a small producer out of Chicago that's doing gins, but then they have this incredible Fernet. And so it's a Leatherby, Fernet, the Brugal, and just Mexican Coke, rosemary with some cherries.
I love that it's a Mexican Coke.
Yeah, and that's a big difference.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's a big, big difference. None of the corn syrup Coke.
Yeah.
Let's get the real sugar Coke.
Which Brugal do you...
I believe we're using the Extra Añejo or...
Extra Viejo or 1888?
No, the 1888 we put in another one. I think it's a regular Añejo that we put in that one. And it's delicious. It's just got like the right amount of everything. Right amount of rum, right amount of Fernet, and the Coke really just brings it all together. So that one I haven't tried, but that's my plan.
Is to have the Opus X,
with
the Fuente Opus X, with the, what do you call this cocktail?
It's called El Dicho.
El Dicho?
Yeah.
Oh, so okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're not in Miami or not from Miami...
I'll give you the recipe.
Yeah.
I'm all about sharing. I'm all about sharing.
So, all right, that's good stuff. Now, you're the chef of this popular Miami restaurant right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm always fascinated by the restaurant dynamic, right? Like what happens behind the scenes of a restaurant. I remember when I lived in New York, there was always, I loved Gotham. Right?
Oh, Man, Alfred Portale.
Yeah.
That guy is a beast.
Freaking awesome.
That's probably...
I like Gramercy Tavern.
Oh, I did a dinner with him.
No kidding.
Michael Anthony, absolutely.
So I always loved it. Like when you'd have a glimpse. Now your restaurant here, the kitchen is out in the open, so you can look right at it,
right.
and you can see the chaos in there.
Yeah.
But what I loved about those is that when you get a glimpse of that restaurant, the kitchen door opening, you'd see this like crazy chaos back there, and then in the front of the house, it all looked beautiful and serene. So how does that work in the restaurant world?
I remember when I played football, my coach, Mike Dunleavy, he was the defensive coordinator, and he would always say, football is controlled chaos. You are controlling these large human beings that go at each other at full speed, and you need them all to achieve one thing. You need to make this play work 100%. That was really what was the most attracting thing to the kitchen. When I started working in restaurants,
that's what attracted you to the kitchen.
Yeah, that whole
to it.
It was a team. We were controlled. It was a little chaotic. It was rough, but man, we were all going for one goal, and that's why I fell in love with it so quickly. We all had a responsibility, and we all had to make it work 100%. And at the end of the day, we were a team. If one guy failed, then we all failed. And that was the same way. That was like the biggest correlation I got with football and food was at the very beginning. And it stuck with me for a long time. Because it's more like a restaurant as a whole. That whole like controlled, put together thing was really why when I first stepped in, I'd never stepped out again.
But also, right, so when you talk about this, the relationship between a restaurant and football, so in football, if one lineman on the offensive side, I know you were defensive, but on the offensive side, one lineman doesn't hold his blocker, doesn't do his job, the whole play falls apart, right? One running back doesn't pick up a block from a blitzing corner, right? The whole play falls apart. So in the kitchen, what is the equivalent there in the kitchen?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. Everything is tied together. Everything is, you have everything from the dishwasher, them doing their job, them working quick and making sure everything is coming out in a timely fashion, all the way up to the salad cook that if they're having a bad day, things aren't going to fall in line for the entrees, and it seems like everything is taking a long time. And really, one person has a bad day, the whole kitchen suffers from it. And it was the same way in football. One person didn't fulfill their block, and the whole play would crumble. And that's the same way I feel every Friday night at around 8:15.
Now, in cigars, you have a similar problem, right? So if you've been making excellent cigars, but your box factory hasn't finished making all the boxes,
you're in trouble.
You don't have a place to put those cigars to ship them. So you have a similar. I think football can be applied to all these different industries.
I totally believe that, and I say that all the time.
So far, your football analogies work in everything that you enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's good, man. Well, thank you so much for hosting us. Thank you so much for your time. So thanks.
Thank you so much.
And,
thanks to Michael for taking the time to do that interview. I only wish I'd been there, as I have to imagine that Erik and Ivan, who was there, ate pretty well that day. As always, thank you for listening to the Cigar Snob Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. Rate and review us while you're there. You can also find episodes of the podcast at cigarsnobmag.com/podcast. Share this episode with friends and fellow smokers who you think might be interested in this story. And of course, if you're in Miami, make sure that you're checking out Ariete. You can Google it. It's spelled Ariete. Again, Ariete, Ariete. If you're a social media person, you can find us there on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. Just look for Cigar Snob Magazine or Cigar Snob Mag. Finally, make sure to send any feedback, questions, or comments to feedback@cigarsnobmag.com. We might just take a minute to respond to you right here on the podcast or in the pages of Cigar Snob Magazine. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, I'm Nick Jimenez, and this is the Cigar Snob Podcast. At Cigar Snob Magazine, we know that man cannot live on water alone, which is why we keep a healthy stockpile of Zafra rum at the office. I'm Nick Jimenez, senior editor of Cigar Snob Magazine, and I'm here to tell you that every time we crack open a bottle of Zafra rum, we are impressed. In fact, I'm kind of hydrating with Zafra rum right now. It's unlike anything else, in part because of Zafra's small batch approach. They use only hand-cut sugarcane and process it into top-grade molasses, distill in column stills, and ferment in a proprietary locally grown yeast. The rum master then ages the virgin rum in carefully selected bourbon oak casks. The end result is a rum masterpiece that's great for top-shelf cocktails, drinking it on the rocks, or even just drinking it neat, which, by the way, is what we did when we paired this in the pages of Cigar Snob Magazine with the Oliva Serie V Melanio, but it goes great with just about any cigar. Here's what we had to say about Zafra rum. Quote, "The rum introduces smooth, honey, caramel, and molasses flavors that start to complement the coffee, chocolate, and spice from the cigar. Zafra also received an exceptional 95-point rating from the Beverage Tasting Institute, so we are not the only ones who are crazy about this stuff. It's just another one of their prestigious awards. Ask for Zafra rum at your favorite retailer, restaurant, or bar. Make sure you follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Zafra rum. That's Z-A-F-R-A rum. Zafra rum. Always drink responsibly, and remember that there is no rum without Zafra."